Great to have you along with us here at the Weather Network. I'm meteorologist Kelly Sonnenburg. It is Wednesday, September 6th, and a fairly seasonal day for Winnipeg. We do have the slight chance for some showers today. Lots of active weather in store for many of us across eastern Canada. And I know it is feeling like fall for many of us from the Great Lakes to Quebec, but it's still technically summer. Meteorological fall, though, if you want to get a little bit more specific. Risk for thunderstorms today and details on Hurricane Irma's dangerous track through the Caribbean towards the U.S. We'll have all of those details. But first, let's take you on over to Western Canada right now, where a bit of a pattern change is underway as we head towards the end of the week into the weekend. A trough swinging in, bringing in some rain for the central north coast down towards the south. Vancouver, you may actually see some showers as we head towards your Saturday morning, and some cooler temperatures because it's another hot one today. Special air quality statements still in place for the 140 active wildfires across the province of British Columbia. Poor air quality does track into portions of the prairies as well. A lot of that smoke is migrating a little bit further east. Now we've got the risk for thunderstorms today across the Great Lakes into portions of Quebec. A bit of a slow-moving trough is swinging through the area. Also, we do have water spout watches in place for Lake Huron, Georgian Bay, so keep in mind of that. Even possible for Erie and Ontario. That risk for thunderstorms will continue as we head towards Thursday. Widespread across southern Ontario into southern Quebec. A closer look at Quebec as well. All right, thanks for that. As we take a look ahead towards the end of the week into the weekend, current forecast track from the National Hurricane Center does have it veering up towards the north into the weekend. I want to send things over to Chris Murphy right now with our poll question of the day. Welcome back to the Weather Network. We still have a fairly amplified pattern in our jet stream across the country, providing extreme heat and dry conditions to Western Canada. This trough right here bringing in wet weather, more fall-like weather across the Great Lakes into portions of Quebec. Time now to share your weather. Start you off in Halifax, Nova Scotia. A gorgeous day, another beautiful summer-like day today, but wet weather is returning as we head towards the end of the week. And speaking of wet, ominous weather, right here, our Aaron Wangstern shot this photo. Some ominous-looking skies over the Greater Toronto area. But before all of that action, there's always a bit of a calm before the storm. Here's what it really means.
Outside on a nice, warm, breezy day, then all of a sudden the winds die down, nature seems to halt, and then it becomes really eerie outside.
Clouds begin to roll in, massive raindrops begin to fall. This is known as the calm before the storm. To understand why, it's important to know how thunderstorms develop. In general, you need quite a bit of moisture and an unstable atmosphere.
A developing storm will pull all this moisture in from different directions, acting like a vacuum, and then shoot it upwards. This forms the storm itself. This leaves the surrounding area with a deficit of air, which is now a region of low pressure.
When the air can no longer rise, it starts to spread out, forming an anvil cloud.
So now we have a surplus of air high in the atmosphere, but a lack of it at the surface.
And the atmosphere doesn't like to be unbalanced. So to fix this, it sends the air back down to the surface to fill in the area of low pressure.
However, this storm gave all its moisture on its way up, so we're left with dry air that's sinking and warming on its way back down, and acts kind of like a blanket over the region.
This makes the atmosphere fairly stable, and that's what causes the calm before the storm. All right, we're going to take you on down to the Caribbean right now. We're Category 5. Hurricane Irma continues to spin over the region. One of the strongest hurricanes on record for the Atlantic Basin. It is tracking towards Puerto Rico right now. There have been some evacuations in place, lots of preparation well underway for portions of Cuba, the Dominican, and as we head towards the weekend, we're going to have to keep an eye on the U.S. as well as it takes a northward turn towards Florida. The exact track is still a little bit unknown. Still, active weather continues, very active in the Atlantic Basin. We also have Tropical Storm Jose expected to strengthen into a hurricane by later this evening. And some action also in the Gulf of Mexico. We've got Kacha right now. Tropical storm still continues to bring in wet weather to portions of Mexico. You can see more right now in your local forecast. Well, as we take a look ahead towards the long range, we may be in meteorological fall, but, you know, many parts of Western Canada still feeling the midsummer heat. Poor British Columbia as an upper level trough swings in. This will also be bringing in a little bit of wet weather, some beneficial rain for parts of the coast. As we take a look at the next 7 days, this is the place to be. Calgary, Winnipeg, Probably the best 7 days out of any of the major cities across our country. Lots of sunshine, very warm temperatures as well. And Vancouver, again, you're going to see some rain as we head through Friday night into Saturday. Saturday is actually probably the coolest day for your daytime high you've seen since the middle of June. So we are going to see some cooler weather move in, drier weather though behind that. Welcome back to the Weather Network. A bit of a fallish day for many of us across the Great Lakes, our nation's capital, Ottawa. A little bit overcast. We are going to see the slight chance for a few showers and thunderstorms as we head through the next couple of days. Meanwhile, Western Canada still basking in extreme heat. Unfortunately, still some smoky, hazy skies as well. And again, it's still technically summer. September, I guess, is meteorological fall. But I know a lot of people in the Great Lakes are probably wondering, this doesn't feel like summer at all. A risk for thunderstorms today, and we're going to break down details on Category 5 Irma and where it is expected to hit next. But first, let's take you on over to British Columbia because it has been hot, it has been dry, but a bit of a pattern change is underway. We're going to start to see an upper level trough swing in, bring in some wet weather to the central north coast. Coastal mountain range will probably hog most of that rain as it tracks in towards the interior through the weekend, but Vancouver, you're likely going to wake up to some showers as we head towards Saturday morning. Some of the coolest weather for daytime highs you've experienced since June. Still poor air quality with the 140 wildfires that continue to burn across the province. Poor air quality in place for portions of Saskatchewan, Manitoba, and an upper level trough that's swinging over the Great Lakes right now has posed a bit of a risk for some waterspout development across Lake Huron, Georgian Bay. There are watches in place for that. Across land, we're probably going to see the slight chance for some non-severe thunderstorms today along the Huron shores. And then as we head towards tomorrow, that risk area will shift a little bit further east into portions of Quebec. Now, let's talk about another warm summer-like day ahead for us in Western Canada. British Columbia will have one more warm day before an upper-level trough starts to swing in, bringing in some cooler temperatures. Meanwhile, the prairies going to see a very nice stretch of weather the next 5 to 7 days. Lots of sunshine. And yesterday, about 5 of them were reported over the Great Lakes, and this is due to the cooler air in the upper levels of our atmosphere. A little bit of extra spin, and we do have water spout watches in place for Georgian Bay, also Lake Huron as well, as we continue to see that cool northwesterly flow over the region, feeling more fall-like these last couple of days, and it's going to kind of continue like that as we head through Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We'll start to get into some warmer air, hopefully, as we head into next week. Now, I want to send things over to Nathan Coleman right now. He checked in with people at the Canadian Hurricane Center. All right, thanks for that update, Nate. A couple nice days ahead before significant wet weather moves in. And, these moisture really is going to be tapped into some of the Gulf moisture and Caribbean moisture, and it's going to enhance rainfall totals. All right, let's begin our Hurricane Irma coverage. Well, we continue to keep an eye on Category 5 Hurricane Irma. So, of course, our question of the day on Twitter had to do with kind of hurricane and the hurricane season. What is the most staggering fact from the 2017 hurricane season? Harvey dropped Houston by 2 centimeters due to all of that water that fell over the area. Irma approaches 300 kilometers an hour, or there are more storms behind Harvey and Irma. Well, as you can see, most people are saying right now that Irma is close to 300 kilometers an hour, the wind speed. So this is pretty insane. It's going to be a catastrophic event moving through the Caribbean right now. But first, I want to send things over to a CBC reporter. He has an update on the flooding and the cleanup in Houston. And years for that cleanup, and we're going to continue to keep an eye on, of course, Hurricane Irma. Now, here at home, forecast conditions towards the end of the week. Thursday, warmer in Yellowknife than it is in Toronto. Cooler air is going to remain in place across the Great Lakes and Quebec as we head towards the end of the week and into the weekend. You can see more right now in your locals. Okay, Doug, let's take a look ahead towards the second weekend of September. We're in meteorological fall,
yes.
But for many of us in the prairies, it's feeling like summer.
Yeah, what a contrast in temperatures. Feeling like October 1st in southern Ontario. We're going to see some records broken over the weekend in the prairies, and the hot and dry pattern finally breaking down in BC.
Yeah, Vancouver 17 on Saturday. It's probably some of the coolest daytime highs you've experienced since the middle of June. As we take a look at Sunday, Doug, those warmer temperatures shifting a little bit further east.
Take a look at Winnipeg, 30 degrees, an amazing long-range forecast with lots of sunshine. We're going to see lots of sunshine across the country this weekend. Take a look at the national weather picture. We see that the active weather is on opposite sides of the country. High pressure sitting over the Great Lakes, clear skies, light winds. Well, let's first take a look at the west where this is a drop in the bucket compared to what we need. But the first rain for Vancouver and Victoria and surrounding areas that we've seen in over 3 weeks. System develops east of the Rockies. The track is quite far to the north, so across the southern prairies, really all we'll experience are the winds with the system.
And again, ahead of that system, that's what's really going to help to bump up those temperatures for southern Manitoba.
Another system into the central and northern coast of BC. The south coast remains dry with that next system. Now let's go over to eastern Canada, where again, lots of sunshine this weekend, but this boundary, nearly stationary, subtropical moisture running along that. And that's going to keep the rain, especially for eastern Newfoundland, Saturday into Sunday. Developing storm system as we go into early next week. Exact track uncertain, but that's going to keep the unsettled weather into early next week.
And I was going to say some models suggesting 50 to 80 millimeters of rain, even locally high, are expected for the Avalon. So enjoy these next couple of days because it's going to be a soggy weekend ahead.
Now that's not associated with Irma, but we are going to keep a close eye on Irma tracking along the Florida coast this weekend, making landfall in the Carolinas as a major hurricane early next week.
Thanks, Doug.